A Peugeot 205, rear wheel drive, rear engined, turbocharged, 500 horsepower. This is definitely the craziest 205 in the UK. Where's the history of this?
Yeah, so the guy who was doing all my tuning, this was his car. So he built it as a rally car. It was a 205 diesel. It was partly built. It had an MI16 in the back.
So it was already rear engined?
Yes, to a degree. It was a shell with an engine with no cylinder head on.
Okay.
So it hadn't been finished. I had a Megane at the time. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant, but it kept on, you know what they like, the chocolate. Renaults are just chocolate. Wiring was going on it. And I basically pulled the engine out of the Megane and put it in the back of this and worked out it was perfect. It stood up straight. It was iron blocks. You could put, you know, loads of boost for it. Moved the engine forwards. It was mid-engine rather than sort of in between with an engine leaning over the drive shaft, like in a Peugeot engine. So put the engine in there. We had about 300 horse in it. Turned it round in about 18 months. I ended up cutting the whole back end off again and starting again.
Okay.
Added more bars in there. Cut the whole front end off, so there's no front end to this, and then added bars to obviously hold everything in place. But it wasn't enough. Again, it's one of those things when you do this sort of thing. So I built another engine, and it's pretty much, you can't do anything else with that engine.
So what's been done to it?
Right.
Everything, rods, pistons, the full works.
Yeah, so it's got ARP bolts everywhere, so head, mains. We've got forged pistons, forged rods, race bearings. We've got Rickwood CNC head. We've got race cams, big valves, double valve springs, titanium retainers, homemade inlet manifold, which is short and bigger because the throttle body on these Meganes are like pea shooters, are tiny. So 70mm diameter. Got a truss manifold on the back of it. It's got a G30 660 on it for now. We've managed to get 550 horse, and that was at 22 PSI, and that's with the temperature's quite low. Obviously the Megane width is very wide, so I had to put the widest kit I could find, so the maxi front wings with 50mm extensions on them. Then obviously the rear is a hot rod kit. Again, you'll see all one-piece hot rod kits.
Yep.
See how much they still stick out. So they were the biggest arches I could find. A dimmer didn't even come close. I've got a measurement thing on the floor somewhere. It shows the standard 205 is 155 centimetre, sorry, 1 metre 55. And then mine, this is nearly 2 metres. It's
wow.
Like, it's 12 metres, it's
wow.
12 inches wider.
So is this still on stock Renault 225 shafts, as in
Yes.
width-wise?
Yes.
So the big question is, so I've seen your collection of MI16 engines. You've got them all. You like me with the Vauxhall engines. You've got
Yeah.
them. Why didn't you go an MI16 in there?
Well, it wouldn't have enough power. So it would only have like 220 horse, which I guess is fun. But for rear wheel drive, you want at least 400 horse. I mean, that's why I went for a rear wheel drive with them, because anything over 220, as you've seen on the cars here, they're undrivable. I mean, it's yes, it goes fast enough for a straight line, but you're putting so much heat in the front tyres from braking, steering and acceleration. You sort of, you know, you're limited there. Okay. So, as I've done with lots of things in the past, either four-wheel drive or rear-engined and rear-wheel drive is the best way. You want the wheels at the front to do the proper job of steering and braking, and then use the rear wheels. What they're really best for is obviously the power putting down. So I did buy a smaller turbo on it because the power band is like flat. It's 4.5, and it's just literally you're halfway down the road sideways. It's absolutely lethal.
So we're at your place, PRD. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're 205 specialist, as you can see. You've got too many of them.
Yeah, too many.
What do? Are you just restoring them all? Is it that?
It changes from seasons, and recently, because of all the you know, what's been going on and the magazines and stuff now, recognised as a classic now, they've just gone mental. I mean, I have customers coming in here which have never had a 205 before. I've always wanted one when I was a kid and never had one. And I built a car from scratch and took them through the journey of building a car personalised to them. So I've built so many different types of 205s. I mean, everyone's different. I mean, some people just want something of 1.6 to just, you know, weekend car, and then some people then want a bit more. And it goes from there really, but I'm not limited to anything. If someone said, hey,
as you can see.
Yeah. If someone said to me, let's do something different, I'd be on it, because I just love breaking away from doing the same stuff. So, but at the moment, it's all retro work. So a lot of people have thought, I've had this 205 for like 5 years, it's just sat there, can we do something with it? And the first thing I say, let's bring it in, let's have a look at it, let's see where we're up to, what it needs doing before we start thinking of anything. A lot of people bringing the cars in and they're not knowing the condition of them. They're then setting me to work doing some stuff, and I'm literally finding the worst of holes and rot, twisted chassis and wiring that's all twisted together. These cars, as you remember, when we were younger, we used to fix them by the side of the road with
sellotape. They were nothing, and they were £700-800, and you just kind of just abused them.
They are still, in my head, they are still worth that. It's daft. And then people are paying up to 17 grand for one.
Where does your affiliation and passion for these Peugeot 205s come from?
I owe it to a guy called Alan, actually. I had a Nissan Micra, and I was trying to put a big Bluebird turbo engine in it. And he said, why don't you just buy the 205 down the road? So we went and looked at this 205, I was like 18, and I bought it, and that was it.
And you're addicted ever since?
Yeah, went from there, because it's small, compact, lightweight, and that's what led on to building the twin engine thing, really, which was a labour of love of 8 years. Must have been about 6
So what was your, obviously twin engine guys are a strange breed.
Yeah.
What was your theory of why building a twin engine?
Well, I got the engines for 700 quid. I got 2 V6 engines for 700 quid. I knew they were from the scrapyard. I had really cheap KMS engine management systems, which didn't work very well. And it was basically just, the labour was put 2 engines in, the ECUs and the suspension. Everything else was all made by hand. So it was partly space framed, it was partly the original shell. And it was just all labour intensive. I could spend as much as I spent thousands of hours on it, which had took me about 8 years to build it. And it must have cost me about 8 grand in those years. Painted it myself, I welded
And that's
it
the
all.
shell in the other room?
Yes, it wouldn't be a good example now.
But that's the original one that you did it to?
So this goes back 20 odd years.
Because that's where I know you from.
That's right, yes. And as you know, how much trouble they give you.
What happened? Why did you abandon ship with it?
Well, it was a case of I did loads of track days in it. And it wasn't until obviously I didn't have any experience with the V6. The V6 is a Belton engine, but the gearboxes on them are really long geared. So when I was driving out on the track and I had 700 horse of nitrous oxide, it didn't feel quick. You were just putting your foot down and it pulled like a diesel. It didn't feel like it was doing anything, but what you were doing is the gears are that long that it was like driving an American car. It didn't feel the acceleration, but it was keeping with most things there. And I thought, this is not wild enough. It was really quite tame and quiet. You would be surprised. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't get in it. Got to the point where I spent 8 years on it, and I just wanted something different. So.
And this is where this came along?
Yes.
It's not as noisy as some as I've been in.
No.
Nowhere near as noisy.
I try and make it as quiet as possible to get it on the track day, you see.
Right, okay.
So I'll just show you what the vibration is first. That's no go. Feel it?
Oh, yeah. It is a real bad vibration.
Man, like a drive shaft.
It does feel like a drive shaft wobble on a CV joint or something.
Yeah. I had to change the gear before that came in then.
It certainly wants to pull you along, doesn't it?
That's on low boost.
Oh,
Well,
really?
I didn't take it into the power, I was just coming off boost. Yeah.
Holds it on, doesn't it?
No land bar connected up.
Right, okay.
It's trying to pull boost as well.
He's seen over boost.
That's never worked.
What, your vehicle speed?
Yeah.
The joys of cars being sat me.
Yeah.
We've got a vibrating shaft, a battery that's a bit iffy, and now he's fixed your Haltech.
Like I say, it came off the dyno, it was fine.
The joys of cars being sat me. I can't get over that. As much as it is loud, it's not loud.
No. It can go quieter when I block one of the exhausts off as well.
Right,
That's how
okay.
I built it. Just want to know why that vibration is so bad.
That's phenomenal.
That's about 17 psi.
That's really, really impressive. The vibrations of it, yeah. I bet this is phenomenal on the track. Very stable as well.
Oh, it's solid.
A lot of rear engine stuff, as I know with mine.
No anti-roll bars on it.
Yeah, it's very, very stable.
But unfortunately, that vibration is very off-putting.
It is, and I fully agree, mate. Let's get it back.
I think we're just going to have to buy a new drive shaft now.
Yeah, someone's going to need to sell that wobble out. So if you know of any crazy Peugeots out there, put it in the comments, but I think everyone will agree. This has got to be the craziest 205 in the country to date. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you all on the next video.